Welcome back to Instigating with Clarkey and Drury. We're in a bad mood up here. I don't know about you, Clarkey. I'm in a terrible mood.
Why? Why?
Well, we'll get into it.
Okay.
I already know you're in a bad mood, and we got a guy on here.
Why am I in a bad mood?
Mike Damergis. Oh, well, we'll get into it. I already know you're in a bad mood.
You're going to get me into a bad mood. Is that what you're saying?
I might reinstigate you into a bad mood. Right? Okay. And then we've got our buddy Mike Damergis, huge
He's got to be in a
and
bad
host
mood.
of The Bronx is Burning, and of course, madsports.com. Damerge,
Yo.
Your Yankees, we're about to start the baseball season, and are you starting to get concerned that Aaron Judge can't win the big one and the WBC will carry over for your Yankees? This guy's 33 years old.
Yeah, he's going to be 34 once the season starts. But, I'm still basking in the Olympic hockey win for USA. So
congratulations.
We're hoping, Hughes giving the Team USA giving the jerseys to the American players coming in. But the mojo didn't transfer over. And
now he wants the puck. Can someone tell him it's not his puck? It was never his puck, and he doesn't deserve the puck.
Well, it's kind of like Daffy Duck, when he wanted those pearls. Go, go, go. Mine, 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 mine.
Yeah.
The mojo didn't transfer over. And once again, our boy Aaron Judge, who I compare to, if anybody grew up in the 60s, when he first came on the scene, reminded me of Herman Munster when he tried out for the Dodgers way back then. It's getting late early, as Yogi would say. Put up or shut up. The Yankees have 3 years. Judge is going to be 34. I'd say they have 3 years to go all in. And the owner of the team, Hal Steinbrenner, doesn't seem like he's pushing all the chips in. Oh, we got to stay below the budget. Come on. Do you know who your father was? You've got 3 years to get this done. And I don't think they're going to put all the chips in to get it done. They'll make the playoffs, but they'll cash out like they've been doing.
Okay, so you kind of addressed my secondary question for you there. Do you think that the Yankees can overtake the Blue Jays and take back the AL East crown, or do you think another team, maybe the Red Sox? I think we're all out on the Rays, I would say, although they have a habit of surprising people. I don't think anybody has them down as a division winner. Or maybe the Orioles loading up with some big power signings in Pete Alonso. Who do you think is going to take the AL East? Like, do you think your Yankees can do it with Cole coming back, Bellinger's coming back? Is there enough there for them to do this?
The Yankees play tight when they get into those situations in the postseason. The Blue Jays play loose, and they had fun, kind of like they had nothing to lose last year, and the Yankees just play tight. Bellinger, I feel, was hurt. He got hurt. He hurt himself in the series with the Red Sox. Cole, we'll see. The pitching is supposed to be his strength this year, but I'm concerned about the hitting. Will Bellinger stay healthy enough? Will he have a big year? And let's be honest about Judge. He's really carried the team the last 4 years. If he's out of the lineup, he gets hurt. This team is doomed. I don't have enough faith in this team for other players if something happens to Bellinger or Judge to carry this team. To me, you're not going to get the same year you got out of Grisham. That's for your Jazz. Chisholm. Who knows what he's going to bring to the table every day? You never know. And Volpe, what's his situation? And you got a guy at third base that can't hit above 220. I mean, can we get some players that can hit above 250 and hit you 25 home runs at least?
So from a Yankee fan perspective, how do you see the Toronto Blue Jays this year? I always like to know from another team's perspective. Like, do you expect them to be a front runner again and maybe just be 3 inches closer to the plate when it's all said and done?
Why not? They should have won the World Series last year.
Yeah.
They're going to be healthier this year. I know they're not going to have Bichette this year. He is a loss, but why not? And then, they've got the players to do it done, and then they play loose. They have fun. I think that emotional ride that they carry through the World Series. Gosh. And I was hoping they're going to win it for Buck Martinez, my buddy Buck Martinez too. And just all the years, you're talking 30 years of not winning a World Series, and ride that energy into the season. They've got that wave. And for the Yankees, it's just business as usual. Business boring, 1970s buttoned up New York, Madison Avenue guys. And meanwhile, you got kind of the hippies that are kind of the Blue Jays. Hey, let loose, let Vladdy do his thing and stuff like that. And they're a loose team. young players. They got the Savage. I hardly even heard of when we talked about him last summer. You get a full year out of him.
Well, hopefully. I don't know what's going on with him right now. Maybe Ryan can fill us in, but
he's got a shoulder impingement. That's the thing that's starting to worry me about the Jays. We're starting to have all this news trickle out, and it's been trickling out over the last month since, pitchers and catchers started reporting. Oh, now Jose Barrios has got a stress fracture in his elbow.
Apparently that's not that bad.
He's pain-free. He can pitch.
Yeah,
no big deal. He's just not going to be ready for opening day or the opening series, but he's okay. So apparently he's all right. The guy that they cast aside for good reason, but I mean, he's still getting paid $18 million. So he's not ready. Gosman's okay. Yeah. There's probably your opening day starter. But now this news comes out about Savage. He's got a shoulder impingement. He's going to start the year on the IL. So there's 15 days right there. So it'll be a while before we see him. Bieber opts into his option right away. And then it comes out all of a sudden he's got some arm tightness. Some tightness coming off that Tommy John. He performed really well through it. It was clearly bothering him. You don't just have that show up at the end of the postseason. He pitched through it and pitched well through it for a majority of that. And there's some other guys banged up. Anthony Santander's in the witness protection program. We don't even is that guy real? Like, I feel like I dreamed him. Like, he's actually not a real guy. And that he's a figment of my imagination, Damergis. Like, I actually think if the Yankees stay healthy, they have and Cole returns to being Cole, even 80% of Cole. I think that they might have an opportunity here, because if the Jays continue to get banged up here, especially their pitching staff, I'm starting to get nervous.
It's a long season. All these guys are going to have some injuries along the line. You're not going to get the days of 32 or 36 starts. You're lucky if your starters give you 25 to 28 starts and you spread it out over a period. That's going to happen. The Yankees' strength this year, everybody says it's their pitching. It's their pitching. Well, we'll see. We'll see how healthy they are. I just don't know if they can score runs. And to me, what hurt the Yankees, they talked about Juan Soto. Well, they still won their games. They still made the playoffs without Juan Soto. But where could they have used Juan Soto last year against the Blue Jays in clutch situations? I think so. And in the postseason is where they really missed Soto last year. They could win their 90 games, make the playoffs, but you got to get some bats in there. They're going to get clutch in the postseason. And nobody was clutcher than Juan Soto that 1 year he spent with the Yankees.
You talked about your buddy Buck Martinez, and he ruffled some Yankee fan feathers anyway. And maybe even the manager, Aaron Boone, when he said last year, this team can't win if they can't hit home runs. Do you agree with that?
That's been kind of the consensus for the last decade with the Yankees, I think, and I don't disagree with it. The years of manufacturing runs has been kind of non-existent with this Yankee team. Quite different in the 90s teams where you didn't see the guys hitting 30 or 40 home runs on that team. They would, put hits together, string hits together. Who's the table setter on this team? Is going to be Volpe. They tried Torres, back then, and I was so happy when they didn't re-sign Gleyber Torres. I was like, please leave town. I'll buy your ticket out. I'll buy your plane ticket out.
Mm-hmm.
Is Jazz Chisholm going to be the guy? I don't know who the guy is that's going to set the table. And if that's the case, how many times last year did we see the Yankees where the number 2 hitter made it out and Judge was left on deck? I'd move Aaron Judge back to batting second in the Yankee lineup to get more of a threat there. This way, you come the 9th inning, Aaron Judge isn't sitting on deck when the last out is being made. I think that's an important thing to move him back up to second.
There's a lot of concern, too, around Giancarlo Stanton, who obviously...
my elbows. I can't open a bag of chips. I can't.
That was wild stuff, dude. He's like, I can't open a jar of pickles. I can't open potato chips with my girlfriend when we're trying to watch Netflix. Like, what a whole thing that was. And it... as much as we're kind of having a chuckle at that, like, this is a serious thing for this guy who continues to deteriorate and sit out for long periods of time with injuries. Like, when he's healthy, he's the guy you're talking about. Like, when he's healthy, he is of a certain vintage of mash 'em up hitters that are kind of starting to fade a little bit. He's like an old school guy, and when he's in there, he really makes an impact. And it's kind of sad to see him breaking down like this, because him and Judge hitting either ahead or behind the other one is a really potent duo, but you just can't rely on this guy playing probably more than 90 games. I'd say it'd be a max out of Stanton, the way he's, kind of falling apart, which is sad to see. And he's not very far away from 500 home runs. Like, even if he doesn't hit 500, Damergis, would you put him in the Hall of Fame? I think I might.
Well, let's address the issue. If Major League Baseball is the NBA, he's the perfect guy for load management. If I'm the Yankees, I almost play him a couple of times a week and just really, start plugging him in there in August and September. He's a load management guy. He came in a lot thinner this year and less bulkier and hopefully not as muscular. So he does look thinner this year. But this is a guy that you only care about him come August, September, and October. And to take away that everyday grind and keep the pressure off of him and try and keep him healthy, because he is that old school masher. He is that bash guy, like the Bash brothers. And he rips the ball. He puts the fear of God into pitchers. But I never like the idea of batting them consecutive, 3 and 4 or 2 and 3, whatever you have, because both Judge and Giancarlo have holes in those swings, so you don't want to put Bellinger in between them or a lefty, whoever wants to take that spot as a next lefty power hitter in there. Is he a Hall of Famer? Well, off the top of your head, what's the Giancarlo Stanton real moment in the postseason or even the regular season? Does he have that colossal moment? Does he have a Reggie Jackson moment? Does he have an Albert Pujols moment? Does he have the aggressiveness of Johnny Bench and the Pete Rose, the Big Red Machine of the days? Does he have a Joe Carter moment? All those stuff you have to think about. And no, I don't think he does. And I think the last years of him playing, particularly not in the field and just not playing consistently, has hurt him drastically. But you look at who's going in the Hall of Fame. Look at they're letting everybody in the Hall of Fame these days. The level has tailed off greatly on who's gone into the Hall of Fame, I think, over the last few years.
I certainly wouldn't. I certainly don't think I'd have him as a first ballot guy, even if he hits 500. I do think he can squeeze in there, though. I mean, I guess his standout moment would probably be, and I mean, this would be, a detriment against him simply for having played in Miami, is that All-Star game where he was in the swing off and he was just blasting home runs in that stadium. And people were like, look at the effortless power. Like, that's probably his standout moment that a lot of people remember. I think that his power consistency will eventually help him get in, but it might take him a little bit. I certainly wouldn't be at the front of the line trying to push him into the Hall. I want to ask you just your thoughts quickly on Venezuela winning the WBC. I mean, they had never gotten past the semifinal before. That was the furthest they'd come. They got put out by Korea in 2009. And now all of a sudden we're standing there with Venezuela on top of the baseball world. What did you think of the way that ended? And your boy Aaron Judge 0 for 4 at the plate with 3 strikeouts.
I'm surprised Donald Trump didn't have the ice officials outside the stadium. He allowed Venezuela to win. Yeah, a great moment for their country, great moment for their people. You could see the importance of every pitch. And, my concern, if I was a team owner and you saw it with the starting pitchers, the stress of the spring training for pitchers this early on and what kind of effect that's going to have with the players later on, particularly the pitchers. Great moment. It's a great moment for the sport. I love the enthusiasm of the Latino teams, and they brought the excitement to it. And it's just great baseball. The short tournaments bring so much energy to the game. I think it's great. I just don't think he's being played in the right time of the year. There's talk about it being played in the summertime during a week-long All-Star break. And I think that would be a better plan. And do we need all these teams in the tournament? I mean, do we need a team from Great Britain there, really?
Probably not. Yeah, they could shrink the field. I actually like that because they're going to do it every 4 years, a quadrennial event or however you say that. I think that would be a great idea. Like, you would have to convince owners to, wipe out an All-Star week. I mean, is the All-Star week in any sport that important? I would argue no. And a signature event like this is an incredible thing to have. I would fully support moving it into the middle of the summer and just getting rid of the All-Star week. Yeah, incredible stuff for Venezuela. You know, Daniel Palencia, he was in tears before he threw the final pitch. Like, it was crazy to watch him on the mound, how emotional he was. And, you know, it's great to see. And I mean, hopefully it helps continue to build the popularity of the sport. Speaking of the popularity of the sport.
Yeah, let's not forget about that, though. Let's not forget our Italian members and the popularity of Team Italy and how half the country was watching it. And I remember I went into a hat on a grocery store on Sunday, and I had my Italia hat from when I went to Europe a couple of years ago. And the lady, like a 60-year-old lady behind the counter, just goes to me, "You going to watch the game tonight?" I said, "I am. I'm not Italian, but I'm going to watch the game tonight. My fiance is Italian, so I'll make sure I watch it." And it just touched so many people, that people you'd never expect that would be into baseball. I mean, and that's the great aspect of the tournament.
100%. Italy was kind of the darlings of the tournament. It was an incredible thing for them in the country. I mean, you know, really a soccer, or pardon me to my European friends, a football nation. Mm-hmm. Okay, Forza.
They're not even going to be in the World Cup, are they? Well, they have a chance, I guess.
It's dicey for them, boy. Italy.
Baseball might be their sport now.
They might have to transition, dude.
That's right.
It's not looking good for the Italian national team. I want to ask you, on the note of the popularity of the sport, do you think that we are potentially in line for a huge downturn in the popularity of this sport if we see a really nasty work stoppage that continues to be whispered about with this salary cap conversation looming? Like, if they lose, I don't imagine it would happen. Hockey's the only professional North American sport to ever lose a full season to a lockout. If that happened to baseball, Damerge, like, I think it could do insanely irreparable damage.
That's a hard yes. The damage that it would hit would be, you'd never survive from it. Some cities might survive. Some teams with the best players, but I think there's just a feeling, certainly here in the U.S., and I'm sure it is up there in Canada, that the disparity between professional athletes being completely living in a bubble and clueless, and the average citizen or person or family is so great that how dare you ask for more money? I mean, when people can barely pay their bills right now. So anything like this would be, you'd be sabotaging yourself. You'd be inflicting damage on the sport that I don't know if it would recover. And I know I was up there in Toronto at the time in the mid-90s after the strike. And I remember seeing the stadium in there, Clarkey. I mean, the Sky Dome. You'd have maybe 1.5 million people, 2 million people for the season, if that, attending the games. And empty stadiums are not a pretty sight. Or actually, they don't have a good sound when the stadium's empty.
No, yeah. Toronto and the Jays fans have I think they've always been a front runner. Like, if they're not doing well, the stadium doesn't sell out. That's the way it should be. Perform, and it will come. You know, the Leafs are seeing it now. There's a lot of empties. They're paid for. Most of them,
it's harder to sell out. Yeah, and it's harder to sell the dome out, obviously, sure. Right? And there's so many more games. Like, that's worth saying. But I understand your point at the same time. Like, I'm looking at this, and you know, for years we've heard, and of course everybody's now that pays attention to the sport familiar with Bryce Harper's now infamous quote to Rob Manfred allegedly in the Phillies locker room when Manfred brought up a salary cap and Bryce Harper told him where to go, I guess, and all that. Like, I just feel like once you start hearing the whispers about salary cap, it's coming, whether these players like it or not, because at the end of the day, they are not in control. And I just feel like a salary cap is going to be inevitable in a couple of years, whether there's a long labor shortage or not, Damerge.
It has to come, because what the Dodgers are doing is beyond ridiculous.
Are they the problem though, or are the Pittsburgh Pirates the problem?
I think both are. I remember when they were talking about contracting the Minnesota Twins in 2002. It was 2001, 2002. You know, Carl Pohlad's a billionaire. And he's getting money from Major League Baseball and complaining about money. Should there be a hard ceiling? Yes, there should. Should there be a floor? Absolutely. So I mean, maybe there could be some kind of nuance to a hard ceiling where one or two players you could pay a ridiculous amount of money, like a Juan Soto or Aaron Judge or whoever, or a Vladdy, whoever that might be, that they don't count towards a hard ceiling, but there should be a hard ceiling with maybe a nuance of one or two superstar players to it.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a part of the conversation over the next year and a bit here. I mean, the floor is something I've advocated for the entirety of this show, Clark. I go off on it all the time.
Athletic fan right there, Damergis.
Well, a former Athletic fan, I can't do it anymore. Like that does that team even exist? Like, are they a thing?
You're an Open A's fan?
Athletics.
I was, yeah.
How'd that happen?
You know what? I didn't care about baseball until a few years back, and then I read Moneyball, and I just was like, that's a cool story. And that's what dragged me in. I was never a big baseball guy. It was hockey, football, soccer. That dragged me into it. And I was like, oh, you know what? That's actually pretty cool. And then I learned pretty quickly what a doofus John Fisher is. And unfortunately, that sport is littered with more of them. Like the fact that a bunch of lower market NHL teams pay more for their hockey team in the United States of America than most of these baseball owners is absolutely crazy to me, Damergis. Like it's sickening, really, what it is.
You know what, they didn't talk about Moneyball, that the A's had some pretty good pitchers, Hudson, Mulder,
yes,
and Zito. That is kind of forgotten, isn't it?
Well, they glossed over that in the movie. The book, I would encourage people to read the book because they're heavy figures in the book. But yeah, Zito and Mulder, yeah, they were pretty. They had a three-headed monster there that was pretty damn good. But at the same time, I mean, like these cheap teams in baseball, I mean, they ruin the sport just as much as the Dodgers, if not more, in my opinion. But on the note of the Dodgers, I'm glad you brought them up to merge. Do you think they'll three-peat? Well, I think they will. I think they're three-peating. Who's stopping them?
Who's stopping them? The only people that are going to stop them are themselves and injuries. That's the only way they get stopped.
I agree.
Cohen with the Mets isn't going, barnstorming crazy like everybody thought he was.
The Jays were this close to beating them.
You're right, that close, and for that to get away, it was
painful for sure. I'm just saying
that might have been their opportunity. It might have been their only chance.
I don't think. Well, maybe we'll see. Let's hope.
How long did that hangover last? Losing that game?
Well, it's still.
Oh, it's ongoing.
It's ongoing. Yeah,
it'll
pick him out of the box.
That Tim Hortons coffee just doesn't taste as good, right?
Tim Hortons coffee hasn't tasted good in 20 years, Damergis, but another sad demise of a Canadian institution. It's owned
really? What happened?
Oh, it's owned by Americans now.
There you go.
Quick side note.
That is true, but
we're never going to get sponsored by Tim Hortons. They
order my Tim Hortons for years. I used to order it and have it sent to the States.
But back then, they had a real quality bean in there. And listen, this is a little, behind baseball here if you want. I worked there very briefly. Here's the thing. They let their contract run out with their bean supplier, and they went with a cheaper bean. McDonald's picked up Timmy's old bean.
Really?
And now that's why McDonald's tastes really good now, and Tim Hortons is terrible. Also, the other thing, they don't fresh grind the beans. It's all pre-packaged, pre-ground coffee. And if you're a coffee snob like me,
I am.
Yes, and you're a coffee snob. You know that grinding beans fresh, maybe even pre-roasting them, depending on the bean, is the way to go. Pre-ground coffee is an absolute abhorrent substance. Mm-hmm. Grinding it fresh is the only way to do it, and Tim Hortons doesn't. And on top of not grinding, they also have a cheaper quality bean. So that's why it's gasoline. I can't drink it. I won't drink it. Tim Hortons. Okay?
That's terrible. I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, that's the way the cookie crumbles up here. And by the way, their cookies are terrible now too. You know what it was?
How's a Boston cream donuts?
They're good. Boston creams are good. But the problem is now they all come pre-baked and they just warm them up at the stores. They used to actually have bakers.
So they have that rubbery Twinkie taste to it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. what happened was they much like the Blue Jays losing in Game 7, much like the Blue Jays losing in Game 7. Tim Hortons and the people running that company, they flew too close to the sun, brother. They added 700 things to the menu that don't need to be on there, okay? There's Steve Cohen. Buying Bo Bichette and giving him $43 million to play third base. And it's not a good third baseman. And much like Tim Hortons, all this stuff they're throwing out there, now we're a pizza place. Now we're a sandwich place. Now we're serving this burrito bowls. They've lost their way, and that's what has caused the downfall.
Let me tell you, if Bo Bichette is going to be that bad, today on the Fan, they were talking about how dare the Red Sox bunt on Garrett Cole in a game, in a preseason game, like an exhibition game like this, or preseason game, whatever you want to call it. So I could imagine what the story is going to be like, and the talk radio is going to be like if Bichette can't field his position. He is going to be in for a rude awakening. Listen, Clarkey, the Leafs #1 in Toronto, Yankees, Mets, baseball. It is gloves off when the stuff starts, when players start flunking out here, coming in as free agents. This could be a disaster for Bichette.
I think it will be. To be quite honest with you, I don't think he can throw. I don't even think
he doesn't have a good arm. He's got an average arm, Clarkey.
And everything is either backhand or forehand. He'll never take a ball square. You watch.
Really?
You watch.
Well, and you can see that, like, there were clips of him.
If a ball's hit right to him, he will move one way or the other to take it forehand or backhand.
Yeah, his fundamentals for third are bad. His fundamentals for short were bad. Like, the crazy thing, and this is why baseball is going to get a salary cap. A guy like him making 43 schmil a year is absolutely bonkers. Like, if the Jays gave him 23, 24, I'd be like, okay, great. They can keep Bo for 23, 24, because the offensive side, like, is there a player in baseball right now that is more diametrically opposed on either side of the ball than Bo Bichette? I don't know if there is. Find me one. Because his offensive ceiling with a bat in his hand, even though he loves swinging at first pitches, he swings at first pitches more than anybody in baseball. His power metrics are great. He's a very, very good contact hitter. He gets on base a ton. It swings so far the other way when he's defending. Look at his defensive metrics.
Schwarber was like that. Schwarber, I remember with the Cubs, was like
not
that.
This bad. I would argue that Bo Bichette's defense. Look them up on Baseball. They're really, really bad. He ranks dead last among shortstops in defensive runs saved over the last 5 years. And
crazy. Jimenez for the Jays is so good defensively, but not great offensively.
He's going to be in for a rude awakening then, boy. Let me tell you.
Unless he matches 35
I don't think he knows
runs,
what's coming. He doesn't know what's coming to him. He could fly
even
under the
then,
radar in Toronto, but
it's hard. It's hard to blame him for taking the money. It's just like, okay, Uncle Steve wants to give me 43 mil. I guess I'll take it. But man, oh man, if he goes cold at the plate, it could be very, very nasty because he can't defend Damergis.
Citi Field has, and even go back to Shea Stadium, a lot of offensive players have come in to Citi Field and gone cold. It started with George Foster back in the early 80s, another guy. Kevin McReynolds, and 10, 15 years ago, Jason Bay came here and he was, went on empty. So a lot of offensive players have come here.
Yeah,
Lindor struggled mightily the first year.
Yeah, he did. He figured it out. He
figured out. Citi Field's a big park.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I know about the Sky or the Rogers Center, players love playing there. I remember when we used to cover a few games when I was at the Fan, when Clark would get me press pass, I'd cover some games, get opposing dugout sound and everything. And I know the offensive play, the hitters love the background in the Rogers Center. They loved hitting there. They could see the ball very well. So the Rogers Center was always a good place for hitters to come in there and really, really focus in on the ball.
I know he doesn't. I know Bo doesn't play for the Yankees, nor does he play in the Bronx. But I wouldn't be surprised if he got some Bronx cheers not too far.
Queens is worse, Clarkey.
The Queens cheer, but it's not called the Queens cheer.
No,
it's still the Bronx cheer.
It's like Queens.
I'm just saying he's going to get the Bronx cheer.
Yeah,
in Citi Field. That's where
Mets
he's going to
have
get
this dark cloud over them all the time. Kind of like they just have this dark cloud, and Mets fans are like that misery. Like they get.
How do you become a Mets fan in New York? Like, how does that happen?
It's passed down. So this is the history. Well, this is the history of it. If you live in Westchester, the Yankees are in the Bronx. Mm-hmm. So most middle class people at the time in the 50s and everything went up to Westchester or Jersey. So most Westchester fans and Jersey fans are Yankee fans. Mm-hmm. If you were brought up in Brooklyn or Queens, you moved out east. So you love like the Brooklyn Dodgers. And so if you live on Long Island, Brooklyn, or Queens, you're Dodger fans for the most part. So that's how it kind of – and it's passed down from generation to generation. My father was a Yankee fan. I knew who Babe Ruth was, but I knew who Bobby Bonds and Catfish Hunter were in 1975. So it gets –
Chris Chambliss. Do you remember Chris Chambliss?
Of course I remember Chris Chambliss. I had a chance to interview him too. 1976. I was at opening day 1976. And I covered the last game at Yankee Stadium in 2009. So that
Ron Guidry, Goose Gossage, they were some great ball players there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They were mean suckers too. Yeah. They hated each other.
Yeah, 100%. I have Guidry's book. I was gifted to me for Christmas. I'm gonna read it next when I get through a couple other ones. I'm really interested to hear some of the stories about that dude. Damergis, we really appreciate this, brother. Good luck to your Yankees this year. We'll see how it all shakes loose for you.
All right. Thank you. Pleasure talking to you guys.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, buddy. There he is, Mike Damergis, madsports.com. Check it out. Huge Yankees guy, and it's great to chat ball with that dude. Well, Clarkey, listen.
Yeah, I've been 32 minutes now wondering what the hell, how am I pissed off? Because I've been fine. I'm not.
No, yeah, you're having it's a good day. Like, great.
Yeah. Well, so where are you going here? What are you trying to do? Why are you trying to get me mad?
I'm not trying to get you mad. I just imagine that you're mad because I want to talk to you a little bit about your best friend, Radko Gudas, because last week, how unlucky are we? Okay. Last week we have our buddy Steve Dangle on. Now we did that episode on Wednesday, the 11th, I believe it was, but it was Wednesday.
Yeah.
That was the night before the Toronto Maple Leafs hosted the Anaheim Not Mighty Ducks. And Radko Gudas decided, I'm going to try and end the career of Auston Matthews. And it created a gigantic controversy around this team, as if there wasn't already enough noise about the character of this group. It has exploded across all hockey circles. Everybody, people at the Sleeman Center in Guelph were coming up to me and asking me about it. Our media room attendant, Brenda, biggest beauty on the planet, huge Leaf fan. She's like, what'd you think of the Leafs not fighting when Good? Like, everybody is talking about this, Clarkey, and Steve talked about it and the boys over on SDPN. And it's been carnage, dude.
I'm not upset about this.
You're not upset about
anything.
What?
I'm not upset about anything. I'm not upset that he got injured. Unfortunately, it's unfortunate.
You're upset at Gudas, though.
I'm okay. Sure.
I mean,
no, I'm just saying, like,
what are you, William Nylander? You don't have any blood in your veins?
All I'm saying, Ryan, is two things. Okay, let's talk. What do you want to talk about first? The reaction or the suspension? What do you want to talk about first?
Let's talk about the hit and the non-reaction from his
definitely,
teammates.
As we can all see, it was a target. It was dirty. One of the worst knee-on-knee hits I think I might have ever seen. It was so clear that he was trying to do it.
It's right up there with Alfie Samuelson.
Yeah.
What he did to Cam Neely.
Yeah, it is.
Right up there.
Yeah, it is. So am I surprised? No, this guy's been suspended before. He's a jerk in my mind. But am I surprised he did it? No. Am I mad he did it? You're right. Maybe I have a little Willie Styles in me right now. I'm not that upset he did it.
Your attitude toward it is, I'm not surprised a snake bit somebody type thing. Like,
yeah, 100%. That's a good way to put it. Good way to put it.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody else is either.
I'm not surprised.
Another big controversy that's come out of this. Well, quickly, I just want to ask you, where does this incident rank in terms of embarrassing Leaf moments?
So you're talking about the response.
Nobody going to
lack thereof
to stand up for their captain. Yeah,
embarrassing. 1,000%.
Where's it rank?
No doubt.
Where's it rank for you?
It's one of the most embarrassing things that has happened with this team. No doubt about it. Am I surprised? No. Am I upset? No. The only thing I might be upset about is the general manager, Brad Treliving, said last year this team needed a DNA change.
Yeah.
And he hasn't delivered that. And in fact, it's probably worse now than it was then. And until he gets to the root of the problem and the core of the problem, it's not going to change. And
I don't think he'll be the guy getting there.
No, probably not. And like, you can't blame Auston Matthews, even though his DNA probably needs a influx of different.
Well, not in this situation. No,
that's what I mean. You can't blame him. But for William Nylander to say after the game that he didn't see it, even though he's pointing at the ref at the same time, and Morgan Riley and all those other guys, it again, it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't really make me mad because I don't expect anything differently. This team is a long way from the days of Bless You Boys. The Bless You Boys of the early 2000s were such a team. They may not have had the talent that this team has now, but they were such a good group.
Sure.
And like the Darcy Tuckers, the Shane Corsons, the Gary Roberts. This team doesn't have any of those guys.
Killers, yeah.
Not even close. Not even close. So for Brad Treliving to say that this team needs DNA change and then not deliver one little bit, like you think Mateus Michelli has brought in a different DNA to this team? Please.
No, he's like the hottest goal scorer in the league, though. Like, they can get a first-round pick for him or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Perfect.
Yeah,
well, yeah, he's an RFA, I think so. Anyway, so I'm not surprised at any of this. I'm not surprised that Gudas hit a guy dirty, and I'm not surprised that there was no response from this team because I really don't expect anything from this team, which is sad.
Yeah, and I think that's where MLSE and specifically Maple Leafs brass are. You know, I don't want to say anything definite because that's a passionate fan base.
Let me just say this, too. Let me say this.
Please.
The moment things started to sour, in my mind, in my estimation, with this team, was the day that there was a power struggle between Brendan Shanahan and Kyle Dubas, and Brendan Shanahan won.
You think
that day?
Late? I think it was
that
earlier.
Day changed everything. No, I think that day changed everything because Kyle Dubas, it looked to me
he wanted to trade Mitch Marner. Mitch Marner.
Yes,
that's where you're going.
And he wasn't allowed to do it. And then there was a power struggle, and I don't blame him. I don't blame him one little bit. And when he first went to Pittsburgh and the signings he made, I'm like, this guy is the worst general manager ever. Well, guess what? Pittsburgh's going to get to playoffs. They've retooled properly with talent that seemed to be on the decline in Malkin and Crosby. Very good talent, obviously. But he's retooled this team. He's retooled it, and he could be GM of the year.
He very well could.
He could be. So I just go back to that day, and I think I don't know Brendan Shanahan. I've played hockey against Brendan Shanahan. He's taken shots at me, like in net. Like he doesn't like taking an actual shot.
Yeah,
he took some shots at me. He was a good guy, but I have heard things about Brendan Shanahan from friends of mine who work for the Leafs, work for MLSE, that he was a micromanaging, hands-on,
a little too
guy that not a lot of people like to work for. And it just. I blame him for everything. That's where I'm going with it. He's the blame,
and that makes sense. And that makes sense.
Unfortunately,
none of those characteristics would have mattered if it had worked and they had won.
Yeah, but they didn't.
But they didn't because unfortunately he failed to realize soon enough that all 4 of the guys that he built this whole idea around, none of them were dogs. We've covered this. We've talked about it. We've been upset about it. We get it.
You're right. And I think Kyle Dubas recognized that Mitch Marner is going to leave this team one day. We need to trade him. I would love to have been in the conference rooms when he had those discussions, because bet you, in hindsight, he was 1,000% correct.
I'm sure there will be a book written about this.
I hope so.
Years time, because they're trending.
I listened to the audiobook.
You listen to the audio. Good. And it's something.
Yeah.
They're trending toward just absolutely wasting and setting fire to an era of immense skill and talent going nowhere for them, right? And your comments earlier about not caring, that's where, and again, to echo what I was going to say, I don't want to speak in definites because this is a passionate fan base. There's a long waiting list for season tickets, all that stuff. But everybody has a limit, and they are treading on the edge of a knife right now, MLSE with the Maple Leafs, of really, really losing some core members of this fan base because of apathy setting in with people like yourself. You're a diehard Leaf guy, Clark. You worked for the team. Like, I don't know anybody that loves the Leafs more than you. Okay. So the fact that that's how you're feeling is really concerning, because it's not just, you're not one guy. I'm hearing this and seeing it online from loads of people. And
you say the season ticket fan base is still there. I'll tell you what, I don't know if you looked yesterday. I did. I took a look on StubHub before the game. Tickets were selling for $60, $50.
And that's what I'm saying. I can't believe.
So when all these season ticket holders who are putting these tickets on these places to at least get their money back, which they're nowhere near doing at this moment, guess what? The season ticket base is going to fall off. And you know what? At the end of the day, I would have no problem with the season ticket base turning over. We need it to turn over. We need some real fans down there. The problem is they've priced the regular fan out, and it's just corporations who buy these tickets. That's the problem. It's ridiculous.
The fans
I hate when
people Maple Leafs. Go ahead.
I was going to say that's why I hate when people rip Leaf fans for being quiet. No. The Leaf fans aren't quiet. It's the people at the games that are quiet.
The bankers on Front Street that are having
in their suits,
cocktails.
Yeah, quit showing the guy behind the net or behind the Leaf bench, the white-haired bearded guy every time the Leafs score. Stop showing him.
Yeah, you got to go off
with this
into
fancy $5,000 suit. I don't want to see this guy. I don't want to see anything to do with those kind of guys. I want to see a guy in a Leaf jersey. I also thought it was funny the other night, the Leafs playing the Islanders, and there's a guy with a Habs jersey on, and he gets a puck right in the forehead. That'll teach him.
Yeah, because all kinds of different people are buying tickets and getting in there, right? Because a lot of the season ticket base and people that have these tickets don't feel like going,
right?
Because they know what they're in for. They have settled.
I didn't watch the game.
Settled.
I actually was asked to go play hockey on Tuesday night, so I didn't see the game.
The Islanders game.
From what I hear, it could have been the worst hockey game ever.
Well, and they were talking about that on Overdrive a little bit, and I agree. I did tune in and was jumping in and out. The third period, I turned it off with 8 minutes left. That third period in particular, it was just guys were just making snow on the ice.
I'd much rather watch
not a lot of hockey going on.
I'd much rather watch Montreal and cheer for whoever's playing them. Hopefully they lose. That's what I would.
That's an exciting team, man. That's an exciting team to watch.
Who?
The Montreal Canadiens.
Oh yeah, well, so
that's an exciting team to watch.
Leafs were an exciting team for a long time too.
No, but they've got some spine to them too, and they've got some really incredible young kids that haven't even touched the ice yet. Well, not these days. I'm scared because that's I'm not saying we're returning to the 80s here, and again, they used to sell it in
that's not going to happen.
But if you're not careful, and that's what Dangle, as much as people like to jump on Dangle for being negative and whatever, he's just reacting to it. He cares. He wants things to be better, much like you and all Leaf fans. he often talks about the arrogance of the franchise.
No doubt.
And if that continues, like you say, oh no, that'll never happen. I don't know, man. Like,
I don't think I don't think they could get back to the 80s. I don't think it'll get that bad. I lived through that. I don't think it'll get there, Drury. But
certainly not because of absence of Ballard. Sure,
but like the Keith Pelly. What does Keith Pelly do? Like, what is he doing right now?
I'm not sure. I don't know. That
he's fired every president there could be to be fired for each team. I think this guy's just in over his head. I don't know Keith Pelly from a hole in the wall. He was in the media, obviously, TSN for a long time. I don't know the guy, but I just like, what are you doing? Like, what's happening? Why haven't they, as Dangle said last week, why is Brad Treliving still there? Like, what is his job between now and the draft? Nothing.
I don't know. That's
so like, get rid of him.
That's the thing too. Like the fans, when things are going poorly, sports fans generally, and Leaf fans to a much louder volume because they're Leaf fans, there's a lot of them passionate. When things are going poorly and fans start to have a perception of inaction, that's when things start getting real gross for a team. And I'm starting to wonder like what the plan is here. And I don't know that there is one. I don't know that Keith Pelly can formulate one. He doesn't know a damn thing about the sport. I don't know that Brad Treliving has one. I think he had one and it's gone completely up. And it's just a mess. Craig Berube looks like he hates coaching and never wants to be around this group again. I don't blame him because he doesn't have any warriors out there. I'll tell you one thing too, man. I would never want to be teammates with William Nylander. I think the kid's an incredibly talented player. I don't want that kid on my team. Don't want that kid as a teammate. And he's not a kid. He's like a few years younger than me. He's going to be 30 in the off. I don't want that guy on my team. After what I saw, and Morgan Riley at least came out and said, I should have done something that was on me, and now the Leafs are trying to fight everybody, right? But it's too little too late. When Nylander came out and said, oh, I didn't see it, and I didn't realize how serious it was till 15 seconds later or so, I was like, okay, you either think all of us are stupid or you actually don't have much going on up there.
But every team has guys who, like even Stanley Cup champs have guys who won't get involved with that. The problem is
to come out and lie about it.
Hey, no doubt. No doubt it was ridiculous.
I don't like it. That's not a hockey player to me.
Am I mad? No, because that's what I expect from this guy.
And
I don't disagree that they got to move on from some guys. I don't disagree whatsoever. If Morgan Riley won't accept the trade, then you have to consider buying him out.
How are they going to trade that guy?
Well,
how are they going to trade him?
Who knows how they're going to trade him? But if he doesn't agree to one and even let them have an opportunity to try, you've got to consider buying him out. You have to.
Yeah, the only issue with that is like
who did the Minnesota Wild? They bought out two guys. Like Korea? Yeah. Was it Korea? I don't know. Anyway.
No, it was Parise and Ryan Suter.
Right. And look what they didn't.
But they had to go through quite a bit of waiting to be able to spend money to do that, right?
A little bit.
And the issue now, if I recall that correctly, when they did that, those guys had 2 or 3 years left on their deal. I think Morgan's got 4 because it's when you buy it out, it stretches out. Where you're paying, I think 33% of the cap hit over double the length of the contract left.
Right. So yeah, it's going to be a big hit.
6 years of like
2 or 3 million. Yeah.
Well, he makes 7.5, so I'm bad at math. 33% of that. What are you looking at? 2.65 something.
Yeah.
Of dead cap money for a few
less than David Camp.
Way up. Yeah. It I don't know, man. Like there's a lot on the plate here.
Like, and I don't know. The whole thing right now is disappointing. Everything from like I'm just saying, like the on ice is terrible. It looks like the general manager's a lame duck. He's like not it looks like he's done. It looks like the coach is done. Then you look at like Keith Pelly and you think, well, this guy was a media guy. Oh, well, okay. Well, Joe Bowen's quitting basically because he doesn't get to go on the road. One of the 32 teams that doesn't allow their radio broadcaster to go on the road. Not what he signed up for. And that's why he's resigning. Don't hold on. And then we have to watch Sportsnet. I'm not going there.
Well,
I'm like, it's like the Department of Player Safety. I'm not going there. Sportsnet's fine. It's all good. Sportsnet's fine. We're good.
They're fine. They're fine. It's fine.
They're fine.
Everybody's fine.
On
that note, what do you think of this guy?
Yeah. Again, am I surprised? No. Last time I saw this guy in person, do you want to know when it was, Drury? I've seen this guy in person a few times. Do you know when the last time I saw this guy in person was? He was lying face down on the ice at the Bell Center.
Okay, yeah, the Colton.
I was at that game.
Yeah.
Colton or
That's right. You were there.
I was there with Leafs TV. We were doing our show there. It was a season opener, and George Peros was laying face down, and he's hated the Leafs ever since.
Was that in the regular season? Was that a preseason game?
No, it was the first game of the regular season.
Okay, it was the.
We would not have gone for a preseason game.
Yeah, I don't know why I in my mind thought it was. Continue. Yeah.
So, am I surprised at 5 games? No. Am I surprised that he did a phone hearing instead of an in-person hearing? No. I'm not surprised at anything that's gone down in the last 2 weeks. I'm not surprised. I figured it would all happen. The guy, I don't want to use the word buffoon, but I don't think he knows.
What's wrong with saying buffoon?
Then nothing.
If you think he's a buffoon, he's a buffoon.
Then he's a buffoon.
A lot of people have said that, and
okay, well, I'm one of a lot of people. Because
I do think
it's ridiculous. They don't want to. And then I hear Bettman got in an argument with a GM this week at the GM meetings because the guy said they're lacking on, or they're sort of not calling the headshots and the goalie interference and all that stuff. And Gary tore a strip off the guy. Gary, your league isn't perfect. Could you listen to the people around you? And George Peros coming out for the first time ever. I've never heard him speak before, but saying how the Department of Player Safety is doing a great job. And there's been guys there for a long, long time. That's the problem. There's been guys there for a long, long time. It's time to turn over this department, get rid of him, and bring in someone who may be a skilled player instead of a goon. I think George Peros was. He was a useless goon on the ice, and he's a useless goon in the job he's doing now. There you go. Buffoon and goon.
I think that Peros, unfortunately, is a function of a broken system that the NHL refuses to fix because Gary does think everything is perfect.
Yeah.
And I agree with everything he said, right?
Okay.
And like their most recent addition to the team was Ryan Getzlaf, right? Like Getzlaf is working with the Department of Player Safety in some respect, right? But and like Stefan Cantel's been there for a while. There's a few other guys that are involved, but George obviously is the head of it.
Another ex-Hab.
Yeah. Like it's one of those things where, you know, they asked McDavid about it. They asked a bunch of other players, like, does the system need to change? And there was a lot of conversation. And
Did you hear anyone say, no, the system's fine?
No.
But
this is what drives me nuts, though. This is what drives me nuts about it, though. Hearing Connor and all these players going, I should have been more than 5 and blah, blah. My problem, though, and this is what I constantly harp on, that people seem to not understand. The players have just as much of a hand in having it set up this way.
Oh, no doubt.
The union's there to protect guys, they don't want to protect the injured guy, even if it's a star former 69 goal scorer who makes way more money for the league than Radko Gudas ever has in his entire career. That more Matthews jerseys get sold in a week than Gudas in his entire life, right? But they are there. The union's also there, which it's a union to protect the guy that gets suspended because they don't like for guys to get 15 game suspensions unless their name's Tom Wilson to give up a bunch of money because the union loses out on that.
But so now you're seeing, though, cracks in that in my mind with agents, because now agents are coming out.
Well, and Judd Moldaver.
Well, yeah, but he should have. Like, he's the only guy who showed some balls.
It.
I do
like
too.
It.
I do too.
Him and Alan Walsh are like.
I
the only
agree, and
guys
those
that-
are the guys who have been on the Players Association side, obviously for years. You're seeing some cracks in that now. It's like we've
With
got to
respect-
protect guys more. We have to give out more than 5-game suspensions when a guy's out for months.
And there's all this talk, like CJ Chris Johnston like was talking about it this week, where he said on Insider Trading, "Oh, you know, the league is nervous to give out more than 5 games for suspensions because they don't want to get into legal battles with the union where a guy gets 8 games and they go, we're appealing it." And they have to go through the whole process. Remember when Wilson got 20 games for that one big suspension he got?
Yep.
Among the many? He's the only guy that they give more than 5 games to ever.
Right.
It's
because he's from Toronto.
Well, because he's from Toronto.
All that. It's all I'm telling you.
I don't think that's it. It's because he's
Okay.
big and strong, and everybody else is jealous he's not on their team.
We
right?
have-
'Cause now it's a love fest. Everyone loves Tom. But I digress. They won't do it.
I'm just going to
because
interrupt
they
you for
don't-
1 second.
Please.
You need to save me a minute at the end of the show because I am mad about something. But go ahead.
Okay, I'm
Keep
almost
going.
done.
Yeah.
So they won't do that because they're nervous about getting into a legal battle or whatever. Well, that's the job. That's the job. You won't give a guy. Gudas should have got 15 games for that. Malkin, I stand by what I said. People were calling me a nutcase. And I get it because they're conditioned by George and these goons.
Yeah.
People called me a nutcase for saying Malkin should have got 25 games for slashing Darlene in the jugular. I stand by it. He should have got 30. Yeah, they won't do it because they an arbitrator's going to come in.
Well, and
here
Jason Spezza gets 6 games for a first-time
Jesus.
offense
Yeah.
when he needs the guy.
It's a mess. I'm tired of it. Oh, we won't give a guy a big suspension because he okay, man.
Yeah, I know.
I hate it. Go ahead, Clark.
gone
We got a
backwards.
couple minutes left. I'm done now.
Okay, I didn't want a couple minutes because I didn't really want you to rebut this, but I have.
You're George Peros.
I'm a little
You're
pissed off
coward.
here. Okay, I'm not ticked off about anything with the Leafs.
Okay,
But can you stand up for a second? Are you able?
I
you
am
stand-
standing.
Or are you standing?
I am
Do
standing.
you stand for the entire show?
Yes,
all the
I have a
time?
standing desk.
You stand
I'm-
for this show.
Yes,
I never
I'm
knew that.
standing.
We've done this
stand-
show for how long? I had no idea that you used to.
Well,
that you stand.
The first couple years I didn't stand when we were doing the show, but since I've gotten the standing desk for a couple years now,
Wow. Okay.
and I stand when
Well,
I
that
do
makes sense.
play-by-play,
Actually,
too.
that makes sense
I
because-
stand when I do play-by-play.
because I swear
Mm.
that you must have a horseshoe firmly planted up your butt.
What?
Okay.
Because of the golf picks?
So your first pick, Colin Morikawa, goes down right off the bat.
He withdrew, which is never happens.
Back injury.
Yeah, he withdrew. Yeah.
And I comment, I'm like, tough start for Team Drury in this year's
Yeah.
pools. And you're
You
like,
did.
what are you talking about? Skechers and Fitzpatrick, they're doing fine. And I'm like, maybe you don't know about Colin Morikawa yet at that point.
I knew right away.
Okay. So then
I was
Morikawa
standing up when I heard.
Morikawa's out, and
Yeah.
Drury has 3 guys left.
Yeah.
Cam Young,
You need 3 to make the cut.
Matty
Yep.
Skechers, Fitzpatrick.
Oh,
And
I felt terrible for him at the end.
and
there,
and Drury wins by like 20 strokes over Doigie and I.
Yeah, I was 36 under because remember, I also had Cam Young who ended up snaking it out over Skechers.
He won.
And if you pick the winner, you get a bonus 3 strokes. And then I also had Tommy Fleetwood, who was T8. So
See, now you know
I-
why I'm a little upset.
crushed you guys.
You did, but
Crushed
I
you.
also might say every pick that I did, except for
Yeah.
Jake Knapp and whatever, you
They
said
didn't
to
make the
me,
cut.
great pick. That's a great
liked the pick.
Minwoo Kim, Siwoo Lee, or whatever.
Minwoo Lee Siwoo Kim.
Love that pick. Love that pick. And that guy sucked. He sucked. Anyway,
They had a they
and
had a
then-
tough.
And then like
I
the
stand
guys
by
you
what I
picked,
said,
like
Clark. I
Matty
like those
Skechers is a
picks.
guy who I picked more than you. Cam Young's definitely a guy I picked more than you.
You picked Cam Young more than me. I picked Skechers
honestly, for
30
sure.
times.
And I had the opportunity. Don't get me wrong. I had the opportunity. Anyway, congratulations. It
Thank
ticked me
you.
off again that Drury's winning. He's just gonna kind of float through the show and not mention
let's-
anything. And then all of a sudden, at the end, you'll
Thank
give it
you
to me.
for
So I thought
mentioning it.
I'm gonna get it. I'm going to
Yeah.
mention it first. So there you go.
Well,
we
let's
got
see
to
if
wrap
you
it
can-
up. No time for any rebut. We got to go. We'll
Let's
talk
see
to
if you can
next week.
repeat as the Masters. You can find this show on YouTube, all your favorite podcast apps. Follow us at Instigating Pod. We'll see you next week here on Instigate.